This is the final debate between Michelle Nunn and David Perdue. And the reason we are airing this today is this race could go into a runoff. And for general information, historic reference, and if in fact there is a runoff, we'll have their last debate, at least for the regular campaign season, so to speak. Let me just give you a little bit of background here. This is by, I believe, Jim Galloway, a veteran reporter for the Atlanta Constitution. This was at the Atlanta Press Club where the event took place. And the Fox correspondent there in Atlanta was bounced. And because of the objection of Michelle Nunn, Laura Strendis said the Atlanta Press Club dropped John Roberts because his tweets complaining of lack of contact with the Democratic campaign, raised questions about his impartiality. Now, that has happened over time in many of these debates. I can recall when old man Larry threw the debate to Will and Romney in the presidential election. On Sunday, an interview with Media Buzz host Howard Kretz, fellow Fox News correspondent John Roberts, a Georgia resident, spoke of his lack of access to the Nunn campaign. The only problem we run into is the state of Georgia. For some reason, the Nunn campaign just doesn't want to talk to Fox News, even though we have been reaching out to them in various ways since about the month of April. We even went over to their campaign headquarters once in person to talk with their communications team, but they want to come down to see us. That was his thing there. And Kratz then asked the setup question, were you supposed to moderate a debate between Michelle Nunn and David Perdue? The debate was aired statewide on Georgia Public TV on the 26th of October. There are many debates here. This was on the 26th. I'd been asked to moderate it. The Nunn campaign, this is Roberts speaking, complained about it, and I was removed as moderator. They went with someone else with a local Fox channel, but the idea that someone from Fox News channel is going to moderate that final debate actually permeated the debate, did not sit well with the Nunn campaign. Despite having a long track record of having worked for Fox, CNN prior to that, and CBS before that for 14 years. I remember him. They didn't like the idea that someone from Fox would be moderating. This is Roberts. I was thinking this is the same Roberts here. Had been around a very, very long time. Remember his work. And despite my long record, but here Strauss explained why Roberts lost the debate gig. We had originally asked John Roberts with Fox to moderate our U.S. Senate debate. It was later brought to our attention Roberts had sent several tweets about one of the Georgia U.S. Senate candidates not giving him an interview. The Atlanta Press Club was concerned that sending that tweet so close to the debate may cause people to question whether Roberts would be an impartial moderator to all candidates. For this reason, we decided it would be best to have someone else moderate the U.S. Senate debate. So that was, in other words, that was the end of Roberts. And we believe in the quality of work of John Roberts, a fair and balanced report. In fact, we asked if he would moderate the debate there. Of course, he didn't do it. And going some other things here today, and this, let me make sure I got this. This was on Monday, the 3rd, yesterday. As we move down here, let's see some polling here. The Survey USA 11 Alive poll has a horse race in the particular race. They had Dave Perdue, leading by 3 points, 47-44 in the race for governor. Dill was putting some space, they call it, at 47-42 over Jason Carter. Early voting gives African Americans a 33% share of the vote cast. On the other hand, the Senate poll gives Michelle Nunn a 29%. Let me get back. I'm going ahead of myself a little bit here. A 29% support of white voters, which means Tuesday could be a very late night. The NBC poll, Perdue and Nunn at 48-44 with a Libertarian candidate. Incidentally, a Libertarian candidate isn't included in this debate. Amanda Salford taking 3 percentage points. Dill is at 48-43 in that particular poll, and the Libertarian, this is for Governor Andrew Hunt, at 3. Public Policy poll commissioned by the Center for American Progress Action Fund finds the Senate race is at 46, and just this morning it also found outsourcing hit a strong negative for Perdue. The Georgia Secretary of State prevented 40,000. This is a very interesting situation here. Registration application for being processed. And this could be headed. It also found that more than half of Georgia voters also want to scrap the runoff system. In an interview, this is Bill Nugget, I suppose, Political Rewind, and Brian Robinson, spokesman for the Dill campaign, said polling for the Republican incumbent, indicates he would win Tuesday without a runoff. But Roberts wasn't obligated to say this when asked why Dill had struggled to get above the 50%. What it says to me is that Georgia is now a competitive state. It would be one thing that if we were an outlier, but you are seeing competitive races up and down the ballot because Georgia has gotten to be much more diverse, and we have been growing rapidly amongst demographics that traditionally vote Democratic. This was from Brian Roberts. He's a spokesman for the Governor Dill. Most of the polls over the last week show Dill retaking a lead, with Nunn trading by 2 to 3 points. 2 to 3 points in the margin. Yeah, that's not bad at all. At the same time, another writer at the New York Times this morning pondered the possibility that the nasty runoff in Georgia and Louisiana could determine the control of the Senate. But if the Senate is not settled on Tuesday, strategists foresee a frenzy of third-party advertising, visits from high-profile surrogates, etc. If the Senate control rides on a runoff between David Perdue and Michelle Nunn, I don't think this is likely, but there would be over $100 million poured into the state. That's from Chip Lake. He's a Republican strategist. There will be micro-targeting like nothing we have seen in this state. It's scary when you think about it. Both states require candidates to receive 50% of the votes to vote to avoid a runoff. This is from the University of Georgia. Michael McDonald's thoughts on the Georgia early voting. 934,484 Georgians have voted early, with 37,034 ballots still outstanding. Georgia is yet another competitive Senate race where early voting has easily surpassed the 2010 level. In 2010, it was at 783,253. That's according to Nate Cohen in the New York Times. African Americans are 32.8% of early voting. Whites are 61.1%, with older voters file. I calculated a comparable 32.7 and 61.2. I'm glad I didn't shell out the $500 for a new file to get the statistics from the Georgia Secretary of State used to publish for free. So this is again all kinds of limited access, scrubbing people off the rolls, and at the same time charging $500 for the data that used to be free instead should not be free. I unfortunately don't have a good historical data to compare to make the projection based upon racial composition of the early voting. Still, I turn to adjudicating polls. The unknown is how much whiter will the electorate be. This is the crux of the polling. The polls that show Purdue under 50% have already have an electorate around 30% African American. Those that show a much bigger Purdue lead, like the Mammoth poll have Purdue leading by 8, have African Americans at 25%. And in undercounting there, it also seems unlikely that there will be a few people of color on election day. My best guess, this goes to runoff. This was a gentleman from the University of Florida. And then we have FetchYourNews.com. That's Brian Pritchett. Quizzed former Senator Sam Nunn on the outsourcing, calling general elector. Nunn used to sit on the board. Didn't know anything about that. He is not on the board anymore, but GE is now bringing jobs back, he said there. And this is some more anecdotal information here. We'll leave it and go to the latest edition of Political Insider. This is Jim Galloway's poll. And see where he is here. It's not Galloway. Polls, of course, are open in Georgia. This is a different one here, just looking at some things. And their polls will be open until 7 o'clock Eastern time in Georgia. And we'll start getting returns probably in between 9 and 10 o'clock. Metro Atlanta will report in last. Almost 2 years of strategizing, posturing, and campaigned into Tuesday when millions of Georgians cast their ballot. This is was from earlier today. Michelle Nunn invoked the Paycheck Fairness Act, a very big question there. And that was Sunday's final debate. This is the one you'll hear in a minute here on Sunday. And a lot of other anecdotal information here. Jason Carter, Michelle Nunn, confident on election eve. They're touring around the state. As with the Republicans, were flying around the state. That is Dill and Purdue. It's sort of like they're flying and the Democrats are riding the bus. Not an unusual situation there, as we see more of that. And a big headline